Alright guys, we're back. We're going to be working on the base color today. So let's get right into it. So earlier in height we created this edge detect flood fill random color distance that we didn't end up using, but we set it up anyways. So now it's our turn to use it. I'm gonna just make a warp grayscale here, or vector warp grayscale. Plug that in there. And then we're going to get started here with a uniform color. And let me just get the values here. So if you click the little color square here, it'll open up your color editor. And we're going to do 737162. We're going to get this like military green shade here. Let's bring that guy over here. Alright, so start with a Perlin noise. We're going to use a scale of 16. And then from him, we're going to do a slope blur. And then we're going to do a clouds 1. For the clouds, we're going to keep it at 1 and 0. For the slope, obviously samples 32, intensity of 1. And we're going to go with max. It's going to look something like this. Then we're going to use quantize once more. And for this one, we're going to do 600. So we're just going to leave it done at 600. So here we're creating our base color. This is going to be the kind of like the paint color that we're working on right now. And then for this slope blur, I'm going to do a Gaussian. Then for the Gaussian, we're going to do 64. So we're just going to double it. And we're going to do a disorder of 0.5. And then for the slope blur, 32 and 0.5. Like so. Then we're going to do a histogram scan. And for this one, we're going to do 0.25 and 0.25. And then this is what's going to be fed into here. So this is our noise that we're going to use to paint the paint layer. So from this guy, we're going to pull out and we're going to do a levels, because this is going to affect how strong we want the mask for our color. And then we have here our color that we're going to start out with. We're going to bring out and do a blend. And this guy will go into the mask or the opacity. This screen is going to be our base. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a little network. Like so. And then as we go down the line, we're going to pull from this because we're going to keep pulling from our main color so that everything's a shade of its original color. So we're going to need 3 HSLs. And let's just move this up a little bit more. And then from this guy, feed it into all 3 of these. These 3 HSL, they're just going to be different shades of this guy here. So for we'll start from the top. So for this top one, we're going to do 0.44 on the lightness. Then for the middle guy, we're going to do 0.46 on the lightness. And then for the one below it, we're going to do 0.53. So this one's darker. I'm sorry, this one's supposed to be 0.53 and this one is 0.46. So we're getting brighter the closer down we get. Let me just double check that. 46, 53, and 44. Yep. Okay. So for this first one, we're going to pull from the middle one, like so. And let's connect this into our base. Let's do a connector in there. And let's just move this up to match. That's perfect. Okay. All right. So you can see here we're starting to get some color, and we're using this mask here to guide our color. So you can see here that the bright spots are actually the darker, just because of the way these are attached. If we were to flip these, then it would be the inverse. And it's based on this, which is the stuff that we did here. And don't forget to do your vector warp grayscale so that you don't have this, where like the color continues on to the next plate. We don't want that because these are plates that are manufactured separately because they're like machine made. So you want to make sure that it doesn't carry over. And that's why we have this guy here. Now if you notice, you can see the seams here from this mask here, the random color, but that's okay because we're going to keep painting over this. So that won't be seen as we go on. Alright. So we're going to do another blend after this guy. And just to be more efficient in our graph, we're going to pull from this guy. And we're going to do a 2D transform. And we are going to just rotate 90 degrees. And then we're going to do another levels. And then plug that into the bottom. And actually, just to be safe, we're going to do this. We're going to copy and paste this guy. Or let me make this a little cleaner. We're going to pull off of this histogram scan. Yeah, we're going to pull from this guy, and then we're going to do a separate vector warp just to be safe. Just going to move this guy down here. And with the fight to plug this in, we're going to just pull from this guy and extend the road, because we're going to need this later on as we continue. Plug it in there, and make sure your vector warp grayscales are set to 5. 1's enough, but I like to make sure it's overkilled. Okay. And then we need a color to attach to the top portion, and that's going to be the lighter version. So if we look before and after, we're just layering more color on top, and this is going to be a brighter version, so that we have like our main color, which is like the shade of green, and then we have our darker spots, and then we have lighter spots, just to have some nice variation in color. Whoops. Alright, so let's move down our connector. And we're just going to do another blend just to get that set up. And then here we're going to do a Perlin noise. And the settings for this one is going to be 16 and 0. So just do half of that. We're going to do another quantize. I like this node a lot. And for this quantize, we're going to do 600, so it's going to stay the same. And then we're going to do another slope blur. Samples all the way up. 0.5 on the intensity. And for the mode, we're going to do max. And then we're going to do another Gaussian. So I'm just going to copy this guy, paste it over here, plug it in at the bottom. Let me check that Gaussian. 64 and 0.5. And I'm just going to do another, I'm going to select another seed so that it's different from this guy. Okay. So after this slope blurb, we're going to do another histogram scan. So I'm just doing again what I did before. This guy's going to be 0.28. 0.25, and I encourage you guys to, play around with the positions when you plug everything in and then see what you get and see if there's something you like more. I don't think we need this 2D. We're going to do a levels. And what we're going to do here is bring this guy back a little bit. We're going to do another blend. Oops. And for this guy, we're going to plug this into the bottom. And then we are going to create, actually, let's grab these guys here and bring them up. Because I'm going to need to create roads for these guys because we're going to be using them later on as well. Okay, so let's create a connector stop here for both of these, for the first two here. And this guy is going to go on top, and the bottom one's going to go in the middle. And it's going to create this. And then this guy is going to go on the top here. Now we need to plug in something into the opacity here. Otherwise, the top is going to the foreground is going to overwrite the background, obviously. And for this guy, we are going to paint the notches with this one. So this is our main base color layer, and then we want to use this color to paint these notches here. So to do that, we are going to pull from our notches down here. Where are they? Here they are. We want to pull from this guy here between the levels and this guy. This is because we subtracted, if you guys remember from the previous video, we subtracted part of the, we subtracted this outline, which is this guy here. So we want to pull from this guy, but we already pulled from here. So I'm just going to create a connector here and then pull from that. And then this is going to go into, actually, delete this connector, pull from this histogram scan because this is what we created. So we need to pull from that again. And then we're going to do a levels, and then we're going to plug that into the bottom. And now you can see here that the notches are darker than the rest of the base. Now we want to, let me check this levels here. Nope, this level's the same. This level the same. I guess I just added levels because I thought I was going to end up editing and ended up not editing. Okay. So let's keep moving. Hopefully you guys understand what's happening here. Alright, we're going to keep moving. And now we're going to paint the treads. So let's create another. Let me clean this up a little bit. Alright, so we're going to pull from the end of the tile sampler. And we're going to pull into a levels. But before that, actually, we're going to do a blur. So just create a connector here to this, and then you can backspace this one. And then plug that in, oops, not there, into the bottom. And then for the top, we are going to pull from this top road here. Because we want to pull this, the original color, which I think is, yeah, so if you follow this, it goes to the original color. So obviously our blur is set to 10 still. We want to not do 10 because that's way too much. We want to do 1. Okay, and then the levels, we do 0.95 on the level in. So that's the second option here, we're going to do 0.95. And we forgot an HSL here, because otherwise the base color, it's just blending into more of itself. You can kind of make out the treads here. So we need to make an HSL, and this one's going to be bright. The idea here is that people have walked over the treads obviously, and they've like, you know, scraped the top, and they've like, removed some of the color, some of the base color. So it's coming from the same base color, and we're just doing a brighter version of it to imitate that it's been worn from people walking on top. Okay, so let's move our connector down the line. Now let's do another blend here. And we're gonna do something similar, like what we did over here with the notches. So we need these guys. Okay. And let's do a blend. And top goes with top, bottom goes with bottom. And then what we're gonna do is from here, we're gonna move these guys down 1. Then we're gonna pull from this guy all the way over here into a 2D. And we're just gonna rotate this 90 degrees and feed this into the opacity here. So we're doing the same thing. Instead of using the same one, because technically you could just drag this and put it over here. We want to get more variation, so we're just rotating this so that we get another version of this guy here. So this guy here is just a 90-degree rotated version of that. Which actually, we could just do this. Actually, this is probably better. And then you're done. You don't have to do all of this, but we're just going to stick to the original. Because it's easier to follow the graph when it looks the same. Alright, so then this is going to go in here. So now because there's nothing plugged into the opacity, then this is the foreground, so obviously it's on front or the top. And we need to plug in something in there. So for this one, we are going to plug in the plates, the middle plates. So these guys. Because this is before the plates, and then if we double click here, this is where the plates were added, right here. So we're gonna pull from this guy. And I'm gonna undock this histogram scan because I'm gonna reuse it. It's just like we did with the notches. Or you know what? Let's keep it docked. And let's just create a connector and pull from it. And we'll do another scan up here. Oh, should be over here, so let's just grab these guys. I think we went too far. Alright, like that. And we're gonna do 0.268 and a contrast of 1. And then I'm just gonna dock these guys. This level remains the same. So now you can see that this is the same color as the notches. That's what we want. I'm going for a two-tone color scheme here where we have our light, our base color is light, and then our like highlights or not highlights, our like accents, our secondary color is gonna be a little darker. All right, so then next it would be these plates here, these guys right here. So let's do another blend, and then another blend, and then same thing. Continue these guys. Add 2 connectors. This goes in the middle. This goes on top. This goes on top here. And again, you can probably just do this and then rotate 90 degrees just to make it look different, but we're going to stick to this. So I'm just going to pull from this 2D transform, rotate this one 90 degrees and plug it in there. I'm just doing it the extra long way. And for this one, we're going to do a levels, plug it in here, we're going to dock it. And then here we need to plug in the plates before the levels here. So before this levels. And now you can see here before, after. So now we have these guys painted. Let's just do this. Like that. Okay. Next is the bolts. So these guys here. So same thing. And then we need to feed something into there. And it's going to be the bolts. So we want the bolts before the levels. So from the tile generator here before the levels. We're going to do a scan. A levels. And then plug the levels in here. And we want to dock and dock. But let's not forget about that scan because right now that scan is set to 0. So if we go to the scan, we want to do 1 and 1. And then the levels can stay the same. And you guys can use this level to lower how much of that color you want coming through. If you want all of it, just leave it as is. If you want less, you can see here that it'll go down. I want all of it. So far we have our base plates, we have our these guys, our center guy, our bolts, and our these guys here. I forgot what I called them. Our notches. Okay. Now that's pretty much it for our starting base color. Just assigning color to different pieces here. So we have our light, or our base are darker, and then like these strides are a little brighter. So let's move this guy down. Let's do another blend. And now we're going to start adding some color variation on top of everything. So for this, we're going to do a moisture noise. I like this node. We're going to do a scale of 2. And we're going to leave everything else the same. Yep. And then from this guy, I'm just going to plug it in so we can see what's happening in real time. And then I'm going to do a uniform color. And I'm going to make this guy white. Completely white like this. Okay. Now let's do a levels. And this levels is going to be set to, starting from the top, 0.4, 1, 0.44, 0, and 0.3. So you can see here that I lowered the amount of that noise coming through because I don't want it to be that overbearing. Now I want to blur my my moisture node here a little bit, just to kind of blend it in. We don't want to go obviously that high, quality 1, and we want to do 0.5, just a very subtle blur, like so. You know, let's go a little lower. Let's do 0.25. Actually, let's do 0.2. Like that. And then let's do a vector warp grayscale. And then obviously let's change this to 5. And then we need our, I think it's this guy. Let me check. Oh no, it's not this guy. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning here real quick. And we want to copy these 3. So grab these 3, copy paste, and just bring it down here. And then we want to change this to, what was it, no failure mode? Yeah. So if you look at the flood fill random color, this one is cut here, but this one isn't. And the reason why we want to use this one instead, let's bring this down another row so it doesn't conflict. Let me go back over here. And the reason why we want to pull from this one instead of this guy, I'll show you why. If we plug this guy in, I don't want the spill to be the same, or this white stuff to be the same throughout all of these different elevated plates. So I want to go with this flood fill. Because if we went with this one, which you could probably get away with, but you can see it now that it's like, it's being distributed in too many directions now, and it kind of looks a little unrealistic. So I don't want it to be that noticeable, but I do want to differentiate between, like, you know, this guy and this guy. And actually, we're missing a distance node here. So let's do a distance. Now let's make it 5,000, like that. Okay. All right. Now we're going to add our metal peeling mask here. So this is going to be a big one. Let's do our blend, and right now we're going to make the base the base layering for our metal, just like what we did here with our base layering, our base color layer for the plates. We're going to do the same for the metal color. So let's start with the Perlin noise. 16 and 0. It's just half. And we need a clouds 1. Like so. For this low blur, we're going to do 32, obviously, as usual. And then 1, and then max. Similar to what we did at the start. Because I want to keep the same, like, color, shape, language. And if you want to change it, feel free. Do a little Gaussian noise here. And then max for this one as well. And then for the Gaussian noise, we're going to go with 64 and 0.5 on disorder. And let's change this cloud 1C to 2, and this Gaussian C to 2 as well. And this Perlin noise to 3, because I think we've already used 0 and 1, so let's go to 2. And then we're going to do a histogram scan. And for this guy, we're going to do 0.25 and 0.25, like so. Then we're going to do a vector warp grayscale, because we want to do the same thing. And for this one, we need this guy here. From this random flood fill that we have hovering here, this is the one that's got all the little islands. So now you can see that it's being panned around through all those different islands. So it's in many different directions. And then we're going to do a blend. And this is going to go into the opacity here. And then we need 2 uniform colors. This is going to go into the middle one. And this is going to go on the top. And then for the top uniform here, we're going to do 8C, 8C, 8C. Then for the bottom one, B2, B2, B2. So one's darker than the other, and then we get this. So we're trying to keep the same, like I said, the same base shape, where it's like this. This one's a little noisier because it was supposed to be metal, so I wanted to differentiate between like paint and metal. So it's very similar. And then from here, we're going to plug into our top, and obviously this is going to override everything below it. So we need a mask for this guy. And we already have that mask because we're going to be using the same mask from our height. So we're going to go down to, I believe it is from this blur. Yep. So we're going to pull from here and put that in here. Yep, just like that. So we did this earlier to debug where the paint peeling was. So if we go back here and we increase our opacity, you can see the paint, more of the paint peeling. And if you want more little ones, then change the bottom one here. You can see more little islands expanding. So let's undo that. Leave this one, the bottom one at 0.25 and this one at 0.45. Or actually 0.4, sorry, 0.4. Okay. So now we have our paint mask, or our metal mask. Now we're gonna add some scratches. So let's do a blend. And then we're gonna make the scratches just a brighter version of itself. So we're gonna pull from here. Do an HSL. Plug that into the top. And then for the HSL, we're gonna do 0.65 on the lightness. And then obviously we need a mask. We need to plug something in. And for this one, we're gonna do a grunge scratch. So if you type grunge and then do scratches, there should be one called rough. Grunge scratches rough. And it starts with this. And if we plug that into the opacity, you can see here they're a brighter version of the base. But obviously we don't just want to overlay this on top. This is a good place to show you exactly if you still don't understand what this vector warp grayscale is doing. So let's turn it to 0. Let's leave it at 1. So right now our scratches are going from like this plate here all the way down to this plate. And it's going down here as well. And a scratch wouldn't really do this, right? A scratch would maybe hit this plate and maybe end there, or maybe it would carry over to this guy, but a scratch wouldn't do this, right? Like go down the wall, over, down, over, and then back up. I don't know what would do something like that, but it's not, you wouldn't really, that wouldn't really happen. And then by doing, let's say we use this guy. Now we make sure that the scratches don't do that. So it's a little bit more realistic. And now they're more varied, more natural looking. Is this the one that we want to use? Yes, it is. Okay. So let's change this to 5. So this was going to be the next step anyways. So let's do a 5 there. And then we need another blend here. And what we're going to do here is we want these scratches to only be on the metal surface, not on the plastic. So we are going to need to pull from, let's go to where our masking happens. So this is where they're both added here. We're going to pull from this guy. Do a connector up here and then drag over. And then this is going to go on top. But before that, we're going to go here and we're going to do an invert grayscale. So let's delete that. And the reason why we're inverting it is because right now, if we turn it off, the scratches are going to be on the plastic. So we're going to invert the mask because we want it to be on the opposite. So let's bring that back. And then we want to do a scan. And then this scan is going to be 1 and 1. Like so. And before it goes in here, we're going to do another blend. And then in this guy, we are going to bring in from our treads. So I think we have to go right here from this guy that we made earlier, the histogram scan. So let's pull down. And then this is going to go into a blur. And then into a scan. And then this is going to plug into this guy here and then that guy. So this blur is going to be set to 2 and 1. And then the scan is going to be 0.65 and 0. And then the blend is going to be set to add linear dodge, like so. And then this guy is going to be set to subtract. So now you can see here that our scratches start and end where the paint is peeled and not on the paint itself. So let's see what's happening here. So here we're adding 2 masks because if, let's say I hide this, actually let's go back. You don't have to do this part, just to show you what's happening. If I increase, the paint peel, you can see here that I'm subtracting from the mask So here I add the paint peel and I inverted it, and then I'm adding it with the treads. So you can see here that they're both added. And then I'm using that to subtract from the scratches. So it used to be this, but then after I have to subtract this stuff, there's a lot of it missing because it's only showing up in here. Now let's go back to our grunge scratches rough, and let's mess around with some of these sliders here because we don't want, these scratches are way too large for the surface area that our tiles are covering. So leave the balance at 0.5 and our contrast is 0. Our scratch quantity is going to be 0.5. Our tiling is going to be set to 3. Because I want the scratches to match relatively the size of the plates. No scratch blur, scratch width 0.75. So we're going to make the scratches a little thicker so they're more noticeable. So you can see right here, they're going from this. We're increasing the width of them. The length we're going to keep at 1. Masking at 0.25. Dirtiness at 0.5. Double scratch, half of them. The scratch spot intensity set to 1 and 1.5. Dust tiling 1 and sharpen intensity 0.25. Okay. So if we zoom out, there's our scratches. They look more to scale. Maybe you want large scratches, in which case you can just, play around with your size. Okay, so then you can see here the scratches are only, there's a little bit of paint here, and it goes over it. Okay, next, we're going to start adding our layer of dirt, or, dirtiness. It's not necessarily dirt. And then let's add our dirtiness color. And let's make this guy hashtag 33 2E2B. And that's our color here. So let's plug that into the top. Now we need a mask. We're going to do another moisture here. Random seed to 1. And then a cheap way, instead of increasing the scale up to 2, we're going to do a 2D transform. And I'm going to divide by 2. Now you'll see that it's tiling again. So let's change our random seed to something a little bit more. This looks a little bit more, or the tileability on this one is less noticeable than on this one. So from here, we're going to do our vector warp grayscale, and then it's going to be way less noticeable after we add this guy. So this is the multi-island flood fill. See, the tiling is less noticeable. Let's change this to 5. Plug this into down here. Alright. So this is the basic setup. Now we need to do some work to it. Let's add a blend here. Plug this guy to the top. And we're going to do another blend here. Plug this guy into the middle. And then we need to pull from, we're going to do here an ambient occlusion, HBAO. And for this guy, we're going to pull from the second to last blend node in our height. So from there. And then from here, we're going to pull out, and then this is going to go into a levels. And then this is going to go on the top here. And then for this level, for the level in mid, we're going to do 0.55, and then for the level out, we're going to do 0.4, and then 0 on the level out high. So we're basically inverting the mask. And then for this input here, we're going to need another levels. Then we're going to flip these guys, because this is supposed to go on the top, this guy in the middle. And then here, we need to pull from our treads, from our tile sampler. Actually, let me check this. Yeah, we're going to pull from our sampler for our treads, create a connector down here. And then we're going to do another ambient occlusion. And then for this guy, we're going to do an invert grayscale. And then pull from it again and do a scan. And for this scan, we're going to do 0.39 and 0. Now this is what's going to feed into the new levels that we did. So drag, drag, drag. And then this blend is gonna set to max lighten. And let's see what happens. So the reason why we have two of these, even though they're both pulling from ambient occlusions, this ambient occlusion is pulling just from the treads because I wanted to have more control. Because if I just pull from this pulls from the second to last blend in the height blend node, it's gonna give me the ambient occlusion for everything. And then I did the separate one so that I can strengthen the ambient occlusion between the treads separately from the rest of the ambient occlusion. And so I'm able to exaggerate it in the center because I want to have more of that dirt accumulating there than I do in the other spots. Okay, so then this blend needs to get set to multiply. And then we're going to lower the opacity here to 0.8. So instead of just being this noise all over, this black, now it's being driven through this, which is making it so that the black is more exaggerated in between the treads and in the crevices of the plate to get this. So before, nice and clean, after. So we're just layering more detail on top. Yeah, we're running out of space, so let's grab everything. Now let's move it back. Should be enough. Alright. So let's do here. We're gonna add more dirtiness, so let's do another blend. And for this one, we're gonna do grunge splashes dusty. So we need this guy, and then below it, let's do a grunge map 001, and feel free to try other grunges as long as you have the same setup. You know, if you want to get different effects, different look, different noises, feel free. For the top splashes, grunge splashes dusty, we're going to do a balance of 0.3, contrast of 0, splashes quantity of 1, splashes distortion 0, splash dirt ratio 1, and dirt spread 1 to get this. We're going to do a 2D transform and we're going to tile it because this is way too large to be on everything. So we're going to do the divide by 2 and then we get more tiling, but because we're going to put that through a vector warp's grayscale, it's not going to be as noticeable as if they were just perfectly tiling like this. So let's go to our grunge below it and we're going to do balance of 0.2, leave the contrast, leave everything else the same, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to pull out and we're just going to do a 2D transform, and actually we're just going to rotate this 90 degrees like so. And then we're going to drive both of these through a levels, give each of them their own levels into a blend here, and then we're going to plug this guy on top, and we are going to, I'm assuming here, do a max lighten. And the reason why I rotated this guy, so if I hide this, is because I didn't want it to be so top heavy, so I just rotated it to get some more variation. And actually, I'm gonna just move it around a little bit, like that. Actually, let's do this. Let's do the divide. Alright, so let me just do this again for you guys. I'm gonna rotate it by 90 and then hit the divide by 2 to get this. And then don't rotate it, but you can move it. And I want to move it so that this white stuff is like covering that black, because I don't want these noises to stack on each other. I want to kind of make it more mixed like this. And that's an offset of 0.45. on the X, and on the Y, 0.1941. I don't think we need to go into the matrix. That's going to be a 2, 2 because we divided it. Okay, so let's go back. And then max lighten is a similar version to adding, except anything that is it puts the higher value on top rather than adding the lower and the higher. So if we go to add, you can see there's way more white because it's adding what's below it, but with max lighten, it takes the maximum color on top and leaves that on top. Okay. So after this, we're going to do another blend here. And then below it, we're going to do a grunge spots. Just a regular grunge spots. And then we're going to do a levels. And then we're going to plug this into the top. And actually, we forgot to edit these levels here. Let's go to the levels for this splash is dusty. And we're going to do from the top 0.125 followed by 0.575 followed by 0.5, 0, and then lastly 0.25. Like that. And then for the grunge below it, we're going to do 0.125, 0.575, 0.5, 0, and 0.5, like this. And then for this guy, for this blend, we're going to do max lighten again. And then for these spots, we're just going to do 0.5 on the last setting here. So we just want to darken it. Actually, let's do 0.75. So we have this noise here that's darker, medium, and then brighter. And then we're going to feed all of this into a vector warp grayscale. And we're going to keep reusing this guy here. Actually, not this guy. Yeah. We want to use, whoops. We want to use this guy, the guy below it. So let's get rid of that guy, get rid of this guy. Like so. And let's change this to 5. See, so even though here you can see the tiling, here it's not so noticeable because it's panning in different directions. And actually, we want to use this guy, whoops, to go into here, not this one. Like that. Okay. And then there's another blend here. And then this guy goes into the bottom. And then we need a levels here. And then what are we going to plug into here? That is going to be, okay, from the treads. From this guy, I believe. Or actually, no, it's just from the, just from the treads. Yeah, just from the treads. So we're gonna, so if we follow this guy comes from the treads, but then it goes into this stuff down here, which we don't want. So we're just gonna continue this road here. And then we want this to go into that levels that we just made. Okay, and then for this levels, we want to do, starting from the top, 0.7125, 1, 0.50, and 0.6. And then for the blend mode, it's going to be a subtraction. And then, or actually, sorry, this needs to go on top. I was like, wait, it's not doing anything. Okay, there we go. So we're subtracting out the treads from this noise. Oh, wait, we need a color here. For this color, we need 2 uniforms. For this top color, we're going to do, hashtag 4D4945. And then for the bottom one, we're going to do 40403D39. And then this guy's going to go into the top. And this guy into the middle. And then we're going to add a noise here. Let's do a clouds 1. Pull from it. Do a little blurring. Little blurring never hurt anybody. Put that there. And then for this blur, we're going to do 1 and 0. Well, actually it should be 1 and 1. Sometimes I forget to turn the quality up. Blend's going to stay at copy. And then this is going to go in here. So let's see what's happening. So before, after. We're doing another layer of dirtiness. So before, after, before, after. And what we did here is, if I hide this, then our treads are just as equally as dirty as everything else, but by subtracting some of the treads from this noise, we get this, because I want the top to be less dirty than the rest, because again, people are going to be walking on top, and it's going to like clean the very tip top because of people's feet dragging, friction, etc., etc. So I want the top to be a little cleaner, and it's probably too abruptly clean. So I'm just gonna go a little extra here, and let's add a blur, and let's see what that looks like. Let's do this, and let's turn it down. Like so. So you can see there that it's a little cleaner on the very tip top of the treads. Okay, very nice. Now we got 3 more blends, 2 of them being really tiny, so we're almost at the end of base color here. Let's do a blend here. Let's do a blend here. Drag from this guy. Just gonna set it up real quick. And then into this blend, we need 2 inputs. And those inputs are going to be coming from these guys, our small and large paint peeling. So we're gonna do this, drag out, drag out. Can I do this? I don't think so. So let's do this and this. Well, let's move these guys all the way over here. And then we want the big islands in the middle. So this guy's the big one, and this should be the smaller ones. So the big guy should be in the middle. And then the little islands are going to be on top. And then we are going to do an add. Actually, it should be screen. Yeah, let's go with screen. And then we need something for the foreground, and it's going to be some treading here. So let's go to our treading down here, and we're gonna pull from the slope blur. So let's pull all the way to the bottom so we don't get confused with our other high-speed roads, and plug this into the top. And then for that blend mode, we're gonna do screen again. And then from this guy, we're gonna do an invert grayscale. And then from the invert, we're gonna do an ambient occlusion, HBAO. And we're gonna change the height here to 0.05. Just so you guys see what's happening. And then we're going to invert it once more. And then this is going to feed into a blend. And then for this blend, we need a levels down here and a blur. And then here we need another set of treads, and this one's going to pull from our main treads, which if we follow along, it's this guy, because it's coming from the generator. I know it's getting a little bit hard to track. That's going to go in here. And if we look at the levels here, we're going to do 0, 1, 0.54, 0, and 0.75. And then we're going to blur by 2.34 and 1. And then this blend is going to be subtract. And then we're going to feed into another levels. And then this level is going to get fancy. We're going to do 0.35, 0.8, and just see what's happening to the texture here. So what I wanted to do is where the paint is peeling. Here, let's just plug this in. Let's finish plugging this in so you guys can see it better. And then I'm going to borrow this dirt color here. So if we get close here, let's find a good spot. So the paint here is peeling upwards, right? So because it's peeling up, that means it's a little crevice where dirt can accumulate under. So using the ambient occlusion, I'm able to capture the shadowing, or yeah, right here. You can see the shadowing that is happening where it makes contact between the paint and the metal where it's peeling. And then here I'm able to manipulate it so that I can kind of pull it to the edges. So it seems like there's dirt accumulating there. And then I'm driving that in here. Because if I hide this, then you can see that the dirt is more evenly distributed. And then here I subtracted the treads from the ambient occlusion because it's there's treading there. You can see it there. And then I do one more step. So let's grab these guys, pull out, do a blend. And then for this, we're going to do a clouds 1. We're going to do a scan. And then a levels. And for the scan, we're going to do 0.25. Because we only want to get some of it. We don't want all of this. We just want to get some of the white. Plug that into the top. And then for this, we're going to do subtract. And then for the levels, we are going to hit the auto levels. So there you can see the values. And then we're going to do a level out high of 0.7. And then what we're doing here is because right now this is all dirt and it's flat, right? It's the same color. We don't want that. We want to break it up a little bit. So if I hide this and we look at here, you can see it's all one color. But we're going to subtract some of the noise and it's going to make it more varied. So then here it looks like this rather than one flat color. If you're looking at it in 3D, it kind of looks like we just colored it in. Obviously we don't want that, so we subtracted a little bit to kind of make it look more realistic, more varied. It's very cool. And then we have just a little bit more to go here to wrap up base color. So let's just give ourselves a little bit more room. Okay, this part's quick. So now we're just gonna do some highlighting. So we're gonna pull from after all our height. Oops. And we're gonna do a normal. And then from this normal, we're gonna pull into a curvature smooth and a curvature Sobel. So curvature smooth and a curvature Sobel or Sobel, whatever. And for this normal, we're going to do intensity of 10. And then you can see what each one is doing. Obviously, this one is smoother. And then this one's a little harsher. And then we're going to do 2 auto levels. One for each one. We want to make sure we're getting all our value. You can see the difference, very subtle, but it's there. We're making use of the full range. And then each one of these is going to plug into a gradient map, which basically it transforms the grayscale into a color output. So it's going from this to this. It looks the same because this is grayscale and this is color, but we want to keep the crevices are black, the highest points are white, and everything in between is gray. So this helps highlight, where the paint's peeling, where there's where our plates have different heights. And we're going to do a blend here. And this one's going to be set to overlay. And then we're going to drive this one into the top. And if we look closely, if we hide it and turn it back on or off, you can see what it's doing here. So the recesses are being colored black, and then the highlights are being white. And by doing overlay, it's doing that. It's overlaying it on top. So first, I like to do the smooth, and then I do the the harsher ones to do like a finer highlight on top. Obviously this is too much, so we're going to tone this guy down to about 0.25. And then this first guy we're going to do 0.5. Like so. So if we turn both of these off, this is what it looks like before. And then if we turn them both back on, there's a bit more of a highlight. And then, as usual, I like to do a sharpen at the very end. Now this is completely optional. Boom, boom. Oops. And then I'm going to leave it at 1. And you can see here the difference. No sharpen, looks a little blurry. And then sharpen, it kind of makes everything pop. If you look at the 3D viewport here. So I like that. And then the cool thing about this is because it's all being driven by one color, we can copy paste and then drag this over here. And then we can choose whatever color we want. And you can see here that it changes dynamically. Maybe you want to make it more green. Maybe you even want to go into like teal or bluish. So you're able to get very different color variations. And then you can probably turn the saturation up a bit if you want to get more color in there. That looks pretty cool. And so, yeah, you can do different colors. So feel free to change it if you want. You can keep following along with a different color if you'd like. Or maybe you just want to do like a gray, which is also kind of cool. And then you have your color, your metal color over here. Actually, are we missing something here? I feel like we are. Let me check this. Oh yeah, we're just gonna drag from this guy. Well, drag into another 2D, and then we're trying to rotate it 90 degrees more, and then plug that in there. Doesn't make that much of a difference, but well, I guess it does because it brings this noise back. Which is kind of hard to tell because of it's this color. Yep, there you go. Actually, it doesn't make that much of a difference because it's supposed to be coloring this guy, and if we unplug it, it just makes it a solid color, and if we replug it, it gives it that very subtle variation. And it's only hard to see because of the size of the bolt. Alright, so there you have it. That is base color. And the next episode, we're going to cover the roughness. Alright guys, see you guys on the next one.